in front of me here a PTZ joystick controller with an integrated keyboard. Okay, so this particular model is made by Xvision, and the model number on it is XSBZ3DM. Okay, so let's just look. It comes in this presentation box, which you can see here. Okay, so what comes in the box itself? Well, we have this user manual, which you can see here. It's pretty detailed in terms of its overview both of it, and then the general theory behind the setup on controlling PTZs, etc. So I found it very good from that perspective. We have a 3-pin power unit here. So the output on this is 12 volts and 1 amp. And then we come along, and we look at the actual PTZ joystick controller here. Okay, so the first thing we'll note here, we have 2 input wires on it. Okay, so the first thing is the power input, which is just here. And then on the other side here, we have where the PTZ wires will go. So with PTZs, it's of course 2 wires will be coming in. And we can see here they're clearly marked plus and minus on it. Okay, now a pretty neat feature on this particular thing is that we just pull this apart here, and just to make the wiring easier, what we can do is we can actually just fix the wires in at this point, and then at that point we can slot it back in. Now when we're going to do the setup on this, and we'll be demonstrating at a later point, you can just run this directly to a particular camera and control the PTZ directly from it. Or you can set it up on an RS485 bus, and you can actually control 80 or 31 dome cameras directly from this. Okay, so let's come along and look at the actual joystick here itself. So before I go any further, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the little grips either side here, and we'll just pull off the keyboard cover. Okay, so you can see there it's quite, and we have pretty detailed keyboard in here. So let's just look at the main features on it. So the first thing to note is we have an LED display here. Okay, so this is actually long enough now for 4 lines of text. And we can go in there and access the menus, etc. And I'll be covering all this in a later video where I'm actually demonstrating this in action. Okay, the next thing here is just to note we have a near and a far button here, and that just means that if we're zooming into a particular location, it'll autofocus when it gets there. But if we want to manually adjust this, we can hit the near or far button either to zoom in or out. Okay, and that's handy to be able to do that. And we have an open and a close button here, and that's for adjusting the iris. Okay, so when we come to actually adjusting the PTZ itself, we can tilt it forward or we can tilt it back like here, and then we can tilt it left and right. Okay, so that's giving us all the basic movements. If we want to zoom in, we simply twist it this way, and if we want to zoom out, we twist it the opposite direction. Okay, so when we come down to the keyboard itself, some of the key things here is just the menu, to bring up the menu so we can access and go into different settings on it. And the next main one here will be the camera one, and this is for the camera selection, where you enter a number and the cam button in sequence, and what you can do then is you can just flick from camera to camera. Okay, the next thing here is we can actually use this to actually set up presets. So if we want a camera at the press of a certain button, would say press number 5, it'll swing and point in a certain direction. We can get it to do that, and we can also set up tours in terms of how we're going to, and actually call the tours at a later point. And once again, that's covered in reasonable detail here in the manual. So, you know, overall, we'll say this particular unit, I find it extremely high spec. Now, the other alternative way of accessing or controlling a PTZ would normally be through the DVR or through an iPhone app or a piece of PC software, NetDVR or something like that. Okay, but what you'd find when you move on to using a joystick like this, in terms of just sheer speed and ease of adjustability, you know, this is really in a different league. And you know, the fact that this is made by Xvision means that it slots in extremely well with all of the other equipment that we have in their pretty extensive range. So that's it anyway, an overview of the PTZ joystick controller available on the tvtray.ie website.